Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to our talk today titled Microsoft Teams AI and Copilot Extensibility. I am Stuart McCarthy. I'm a principal PM based in the UK, working for the Teams engineering organization. I'm going to be speaking to you for the next kind of 90 minutes or so about how we can think about AI showing up inside Microsoft Teams, but also how do we extend the M365 Copilot Extensibility framework. I have some of my colleagues on the call today who are just going to introduce themselves. If I hand over to Espe to kick us off.
Hello, team. Thank you for joining. I'm Maria Esperanza Salazar. I'm from the Teams Engineer team. I'm a customer program manager.
Hi, folks. Rocky Quach. I'm also a customer PM. I cover high tech and our high tech manufacturing customers. George?
Hi, everyone. I'm George Leitão. I cover multiple accounts in Brazil and in the United States. So welcome to our presentation today.
Thank you, George. And we just wanted to say that we're conscious that we have different people speaking different languages on the call today. So if you do want to give live translation a go, there are some instructions on the screen now of how you would go about doing that.
Yes.
So
thank you.
Thank you, George. So without further ado, so we're going to discuss quite a range of topics today about Microsoft Teams and about Copilot Extensibility. So we're going to take you through AI in Teams, what that looks like. We're going to talk a little bit about Copilot and the difference between Microsoft 365 Copilot and custom Copilots, which could show up inside Teams as well. And we're going to talk you through some examples and how to think about solution discovery moving forwards. So first of all, this is our CEO, Satya. He's been describing now for a very long time about how the age of AI is upon us. And we've been seeing that a lot of our customers have really been accelerating how they've been focusing on AI across the board, whether it's looking at Azure, whether it's thinking about modern workplace and Teams, whether it's thinking about custom copilots in a business applications world. But we're very privileged to be working with a lot of different customers at the moment and finding a lot of different use cases. So a lot of the content that you'll see today is based upon those use cases that we've been learning about with customers. So just to get us started, we wanted to show you a video from one of our customers in Europe, Bayer. This was presented at Ignite just at the end of last year. If I could just encourage everyone to turn their volumes up, because it's quite a quiet video. We'll just sit and watch this before moving forward.
Every single day, we are helping farmers on the fields, we are helping to cure diseases, and we are helping our consumers get healthier. We really want to be at the forefront of innovation. Microsoft Copilot gives our employees more power, more freedom to focus on our mission, health for all and hunger for none.
We actually experience that the employees can get to their information faster in our journey of generative AI. We have over 700 use cases across all divisions and functions, so we really see a big impact.
Previously, it could easily take you days, if not weeks, to find that piece of information. Having the model store integrated into Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Copilot can immediately filter out models that are relevant.
Last week, I received an email with 5 attachments, 20 to 50 pages each. Then I asked Copilot, give me a summary, and the summary saved me 45 minutes.
It is great that we can leverage 150 years of data, making Gen AI a really great possibility for creating value.
Okay, so just as a level set for everybody, we've had many questions over the past kind of year or so about the differences between AI inside Microsoft Teams. We work for Teams Engineering. A lot of people are coming to us with this question. So the way I think about AI in the Teams product is in 3 different ways. The first is Teams Premium. So this is a license that you can pay, and that gives you extra functionality within the product, such as providing meeting recap for people after a meeting. Now, this is kind of like having someone sit inside your meeting and say, I'm going to take notes. I'm going to be the note taker and the person who creates tasks for people and then sends them out after the meeting. They're recap notes that everybody has. We're all allowed to have them at the same time. And if you've got that license, you would have access to that feature. M365 Copilot is like having a personal assistant just for me. I can use that assistant within the meeting to ask questions one-on-one, or I could ask that assistant questions after the meeting. But it's very much for me. I can get things done, and I can have a personal experience. That can be turned on with another license, but then we can also think about extending that as well to give it access to more functionality, which is what most of this talk will be about. And then we also think about custom copilots. So the idea of creating a custom AI that lives inside teams that we can all interact with. Now, this doesn't have to show up inside M365 Copilot. This could show up inside a one-to-one chat. It could show up in a group chat. It could show up inside a meeting. But this is something that our customers have much more control over. And this isn't licensed. This is something that they can go and build for themselves and put that on top of the product. So we can just see here a couple of examples of Teams Premium. So this is showing how meeting recap works on the left-hand side. We can see that we get very rich meeting notes pulled out automatically. We get actions, suggested tasks pulled out automatically. And we can see when certain people within the meeting start talking, when we share content, that sort of thing. And then we have live translation as well on the right. So these are both out-the-box features. So let's talk a little bit about AI extensibility. There are two ways that we think about extending AI. One is by extending the Microsoft 365 Copilot product, so that digital assistant that we have if we have a license. We can interact with it inside Teams through M365 chat, and we can ask it to do things for us. It can look into our data. It can look into Teams chats, into emails. It can reason over that data for us, and it can do something with it. It can create paragraphs that we could use in documents. It could summarize an email for us. But essentially, we're asking it to do something based on a particular query that we're sending to it. We can also think about building our own Copilot. So the process of creating a bot powered by Gen AI that we can be super focused on. We could make an HR bot, for example, or a legal bot, which has access to just certain pieces of information, and people can go and access that directly. So there are two ways we can think about doing this. We extend the existing platform that we have bought a license for. We give it access to more data, or we create our own from scratch. And then we can see across the bottom, we have a range of developer tools that enable us to go ahead and do that, depending on whether we want to use code or whether we want to kind of go with a low code, no code solution. We can see again on this slide here, we can see both sides of that. So we've got extending M365 Copilot. We can do that in Visual Studio, or we can use Copilot Studio to do that extension piece. Or if we're building our own Copilot, we can do the same in Visual Studio using Teams AI libraries and the OpenAI Studio, but we can also do it inside Copilot. And we're going to show you the differences between that today. So when we think about extending M365 Copilot, we think about two ways of extending it. We can either increase the knowledge that it has by adding in extra information, so what Copilot knows, but we can also extend Copilot by what users can do, so the skills that it has by creating plugins. If we look at a bit of a deeper dive into how that works, we can think about having knowledge here as the semantic index of all of the information that we pull into Copilot. Now that could be based on M365 data, but it can also be based on connectors. So by using graph connectors, we can reach out and we can pull information in from your own line of business systems or from third-party tools like SAP or Salesforce or ServiceNow. So an example here could be if I had my ticketing system inside ServiceNow and my knowledge base in there, I could pull in all of the knowledge base information from ServiceNow into my M365 environment, and then I could ask questions such as, how do I reset my password? Copilot will know this because it has access to this data in the same way that it would have access to my emails or my Teams chats, for example. If we could look at the contrast of that, we think about creating plugins. This is more of a real-time way of reaching out and grabbing information from a third-party system or a line of business system to answer a question. So, for example, the same example then with ServiceNow, if I were to say, give me an update on my open ticket, Copilot would know to go after ServiceNow to answer any questions about tickets. It would reach into the system, pull back the information, and then it would be able to answer that for me. So we have those two ways of looking at this, the knowledge piece with connectors, or the plugins piece for adding extra skills. And of course, everything is all still within the compliance boundary. All of this data is living inside your tenant, so we're very secure. You can see along the bottom, we've got some existing connectors and plugins which you would be able to use. These are some plugins these are some connectors that we have available for us today. Some of them are provided by Microsoft, some of them are third-party connectors. But you can click on this hyperlink down here just to have a look at the other connectors that are available for you to be able to pull in that data from your outside world into Copilot and have it be able to reason across that data. When we think about plugins, a way that this works in the background today is we can use the same mechanism that a Teams message extension uses. So if you imagine you're writing a message to a colleague inside Teams today and you wanted to answer a colleague's question about some inventory, you could click on one of those little icons on the bottom for Northwind inventory. You could type in a particular search term and get back a search result. You would then paste that as an adaptive card into the chat. Now, if you're asking Copilot a similar question, how many stocks of carrot soup do we have left today? Copilot in the background is doing exactly the same thing. It knows that if we're asking a stock question, it needs to go and ask the Northwind inventory system. So therefore, it will create a search term for carrots, and it will ask that message extension. Copilot will use that message extension to go off, pull back an adaptive card with a summary in it of how many carrots we have available, and then Copilot can reason over that data and it can send it back into the chat. So behind the scenes, we're using the same mechanisms as we use for some of the Teams extensibility today. And this is a pattern that that works today. You can go out and build message extensions, which can then be turned into Copilot plugins in the same way. So let's look at an example of this. This is something that we worked on with one of our customers in the UK, Dentsu, and this was presented at Build and at Ignite this year. So we're going to play this video for you to watch. What you're going to see is an example of using a M365 connector to bring some data in from Confluence, which Copilot can reason over. We're then going to see an example of a third-party plugin being used for Jira to bring some data in through Jira, and then we're going to see an example of a custom line of business plugin that was created specifically for Dentsu, and we can see the three all working in unison together. Let's just roll that video for everybody.
In this demo, we're showing how Daniela, a project manager at Dentsu, which is an integrated marketing and media company, might manage the process of updating the branding of a client's website. Let's take a closer look at what's going on here with each turn in the process. The first turn is gathering information. Here, you're seeing the deep retrieval and summarization capabilities of Copilot. Copilot is not only able to traverse all the data Dentsu has in Microsoft Graph to include SharePoint documents, Outlook emails, Teams chats with colleagues, and more, but it's also traversing content from Confluence using a Confluence Microsoft Graph connector, which is bringing indexed data from Confluence into Microsoft Graph. In addition to what Copilot extracted from Confluence, it also includes new steps in the process that were identified from email data, the rollback plan, updating the logo, and performance monitoring. Copilot returns a summary of the deployment guidelines with a citation for each relevant artifact, chats, emails, and documents. Because Copilot is powered by full semantic search, it was able to include steps in the deployment guidelines that otherwise might have been missed. The second turn is invoking plugins and context. Dentsu uses Jira as their ticket management tool. Jira integrates with Teams and Outlook using a message extension. With Copilot, the Jira message extension now functions as a plugin and creates a ticket using the context and information gathered in previous turns. It pre-populates several fields, like the project name and the summary, and it also includes a description based on the context found in an email. But as helpful as Copilot is, we still have to make a few edits, like adding a ticket owner. Then we're all set. Back in Teams, Copilot has already summarized its actions. including a reference to the newly created ticket. Now, the final and third turn for this demo. Here's where Copilot interacts with an enterprise application, in this case, to retrieve a branding asset. Dentsu's brand web catalog is in their internally developed CS Assets application, which integrates with Teams using message extensions. Using some precise language in the prompt, for example, the name of the asset catalog, increases the fidelity of Copilot's response. When we've confirmed that Copilot has retrieved the right branding asset from this line of business tool, it's just a matter of telling Copilot to update the Jira ticket with the Contoso logo for reference. Copilot does the rest, finding the previously created ticket from the context, invoking the comments dialog, and pre-populating the comments with a link to the logo file. Copilot summarized the changes to the Jira ticket and includes references to the artifacts. And we're done. So, in this demo, we're
Okay, so that was just showing a demo of how we could think about extending M365 Copilot in those different ways. So with a plugin or with a connector, how we could use third-party plugins, some of which exist today, and customers can turn these on today in public preview. But also you can think about creating your own as well. So what we're going to look at now is the way that we can build these out. So I already showed you how a Teams search-based message extension can be used to build a plugin, and that's something that you can do with code. You can go off to the internet and you can find out how to do that today, and there are tutorials that show you how to do that. But we can also think about using Copilot Studio to do that as well. So Copilot Studio pulls together our low-code and no-code offerings around extending Copilot, but also think about creating custom Copilots. So you'll probably remember in the past we had Power Virtual Agents, and this will be wrapped up now into the same Copilot Studio experience. So we can build our own Copilots out, or we can extend Microsoft Copilot as well. So we're going to take you through another quick video example, which is going to show this. But basically what we'll see in that next demo is the ability to try and ask a question inside Microsoft Copilot, see that it is not able to answer that question for us. We can launch Copilot Studio with a couple of clicks. We can join up some data. We can publish that back into our catalog, and then we can ask Copilot again, and it will be able to provide that answer for us. So let's watch that video. We can see here we're going in and we're asking Copilot to do something for us. So we're summarizing a travel policy. Copilot's going to read that, it's going to respond and summarize that travel policy for me. I'm now going to ask a question. How much budget do I have available this quarter? But Copilot comes back and says, I'm sorry, I don't know. I can't tell you about travel budget. So what we can do is we can click on the sources button, and then we can open up Copilot Studio to create this plugin. We then add a new conversational plugin called Expense Budget Summary, and we provide a description of what the conversational plugin is going to do. This helps Copilot understand which plugin it should go to when it has a specific question. Off the back of that summary, we can then go and create an action which reads data in from an SAP table. We're going to go off, pull in data from the budget table, and we're going to use that as the source for creating a generative answer. We're now going to give that that generative response a prompt to ask us to create a summary for us. We're going to take that summary, we're going to send that back into Microsoft Copilot, and we're going to publish it. Now, when we ask exactly the same question, we can see that we're able to provide an answer based on that travel budget, which we've just added. So I hope that gives you a good idea of how easy it is to pull some of these concepts together. The other way of thinking about building out custom Copilot, inside your environment, such as Teams, is to think about using the Teams AI library. So the AI library is a SDK wrapper which allows us to extend existing bot framework SDK to add in AI in a very natural and simple way. By using prompt engineering, the developer is basically setting some settings, choosing some prompts, following up with some actions to tell the AI-driven bot what it is that they're supposed to do. And then the AI library handles everything else for us. We can very quickly publish a bot into teams, either in one-on-one or inside a team, to be able to react to one-on-one questions. So let's give you an example of what that might look like as well. So imagine that you're in hospitality scenario, such as in a hotel, and we wanted to create a custom Copilot to help you with an end-to-end process. What we're seeing here is a team that's been set up with several people who are in charge of answering questions. So rather than most people spending time reading an email that's coming in and then processing the email themselves, we could use the team's AI library to create a custom Copilot to do that for us. So when a message gets posted into this team, we can automatically read that message, summarize the message, and then we can give the support person some options of what they can do. We can see that the person wasn't happy with the cleanliness of their room, so we can either book in some maid cleaning to clean the room, or we can offer a discount to the customer. The person who's working on this decides to do both. So first of all, she clicks request maid cleaning, and we can see that we can create a ticket automatically. This can be pre-filled based on the details from the original support ticket, so the person doesn't actually have to fill in any details. Obviously, she fills in some, she assigns the housekeeper. She can assign the priority level as well. Now, this could be a line of business system like we see here, Contoso system, but it could also be anything like Jira, ServiceNow, anything you might use for tickets. Once they've created that ticket in the system, she then decides to offer a discount. But again, rather than writing out the email manually, we can use generative AI through Teams to automatically read the original email, look at what we've done for the customer, and then provide a response automatically, which can then be copied and sent back to the customer. So we can see here that the person is still very active in making decisions in this process, but we've done a lot of heavy lifting automatically for them by doing the automatic generation of those emails. Now, something that is also worth thinking about is because this interaction is done inside Teams, there are multiple people in here. So if somebody needed to lean in to help, we could mention somebody, we could have a discussion about what to do next. We can collaborate on this scenario as well as operating as a one-to-one interaction there. So another scenario that I wanted to show you is, again, a custom Copilot showing up inside Teams, but this is around policies. So I was working with a customer earlier this year who wanted to create a policy bot about a particular policy. And we said, well, rather than creating question and answer pairs, as we may have done in the past, and kind of guessing what the end user is going to ask, why don't we use Gen AI to create a policy bot based on that policy document? Or maybe even a number of policy documents. We could chuck a lot of policies at this and it will just start working. But what you're seeing here is a one-to-one interaction. But we said to them, well, rather than just having a one-to-one bot, why don't you think about having this bot show up inside a team as well? So by making a couple of small changes, we can actually have this bot showing up inside a Teams channel, inside a meeting, inside a group chat. So what you're seeing here is an example where we have an onboarding team, and that same policy bot lives inside the onboarding team. So we can see Cecile's asking a question about remote work policies. Different people are responding. Maybe there's managers in the team. Maybe there are other people supporting, such as mentors within this team, all around onboarding these employees. And then Daniela comes in and says, well, we're allowed to work 2 days remotely per week, but I'm wondering when we are working remotely, what equipment do we get? PolicyBot, can you help me? And by mentioning PolicyBot, it can get a context of what Daniela's asked and it can respond in accordingly. So everybody gets to see the answer now. So again, it's a way of thinking about collaborating with a bot rather than just asking a bot one-to-one questions. And this is super powerful because it means that humans can now write back in. If the bot says anything, maybe that's out of date, a human can go in and correct it. A human can offer different advice. So it's really a way of bots and humans working alongside each other to get something done. Again, this is inside Teams. We can mention people. We can bring other people into the team and share the message history. We can escalate to a meeting. By putting a little bit of effort into creating this bot, but having it appear inside Teams, it means that we're able to capitalize on the existing Teams features that we have in the product today. So we then took this scenario and we said, well, okay, this is great for onboarding into your organization, but what if we thought about a scenario where we were being more operational? So maybe we're working with customers. Exactly the same bot was used in an operational team to say, what do we do if something goes wrong with a customer? So this particular customer is an airline customer. We can see that Cecile has had a problem on the flight. She's spilled coffee over somebody. There's a conversation that happens among the different staff members, but then Daniela comes along and says, Crewbot, what is the formal response? I think we need to fill a form in. And we can see that Crewbot responds, reads this thread and says, it looks like you spilled coffee over somebody. Daniela, you're correct. You need to fill out a safety report. Here is that safety report. But in past cases, we know that offering a customer a complimentary drink has been appreciated. So the bot's responding, it's got context, it understands what's happened, and it's able to provide some support. But then because we're in teams, we see that Marja has written in and she said, I knew this customer was a Gold Club member. You should probably offer them some champagne, not just offer them a normal drink, because we want to look after our Gold Club members. So it's humans operating alongside the bots to provide additional value. And we can see how this worked just behind the scenes. This is a really simple way of interacting and doing this. We basically grab the message details from the original message. We then go off to the Graph API and we pull back all of the chat history, and then we're able to send that into Azure OpenAI to say, here's our chat history, this is what's going on, based on what you know in terms of your data, the policy data that we have inside Azure OpenAI, what would you write next? And we then go and ask the OpenAI to respond in and to give the next answer. And then we paste that reply straight into the message. So that POC that you just saw was built very easily just using Power Automate. We could also use Power Virtual Agents to build that. We could build it out using Node.js in Visual Studio Code if we wanted to. It's all the same logic behind the scenes, just a different way of building it out. And then here's an architectural diagram to show you what that looks like. So if we're thinking now about how we might extend out M365 Copilot or adding AI into teams, what are the kind of processes that we would go about next? What we normally do is we talk to customers about the kind of scenarios that we would explore with generative AI. So things like reducing time of finding information inside a knowledge base, or extracting information from documents when we're processing things. What could we use if we're generating? What could we do if we were generating any information? So create some text for me, make some suggestions. How can we classify things? How do you classify information and send it to the right team, reducing that triage time? How can we analyze a meeting or analyze a document that a customer has sent in, or analyze a chat within a particular team when people are collaborating with each other to understand, is this a good or a bad summary? Can we recognize speech? Can we recognize images, or can we do translation? There are lots of things that we can do with this technology, and we really want to work with customers to understand more about their use cases. So what we would normally do is we would talk to customers and say, what are your use cases? What are the sorts of things you think about when you're thinking about AI? And then we put them in these 3 different buckets. So the first is an out-the-box bucket. So if we're thinking about things like automatically transcribing meeting notes, or creating an email by asking Copilot to do something, we can do all of that out the box. If you buy your Teams premium license, if you buy your M365 Copilot license, you can get most of that done straight away. So we don't really have to do an extension then. We just have to understand what the scenario is and then help people understand how they might do that within the product. For some scenarios, we may want to think about extending M365 Copilot. And that's if we want to talk to Copilot as my digital assistant, and we might ask Copilot to pull some records from a third-party system, for example, or we might add it to add some up-to-date inventory information into a customer order. So we're asking Copilot to do something there. And then finally, with custom Copilots, there may be some scenarios which don't make sense for M365 Copilot to do. Maybe they're part of a bigger flow, like I showed with the hospitality example. Or maybe they're for users who you haven't licensed on M365 Copilot. It might be that you don't license your entire user base. You may license your information workers, for example, but your frontline workers might not be licensed, but they may need to use AI too. So thinking about something like a legal bot or a customer service bot or a policy bot could be really useful for those users. And then think about how they show up as well. You know, like I showed you before, having a bot show up in a one-to-one environment could be very different from having that bot show up in a collaborative environment, such as a team or a meeting. So it's always important to think through, what's the user trying to do? Why are they trying to do it? But also, by enabling the different sorts of technology, what is it that they can achieve? I would always challenge customers to think through, if we're thinking about building a bot one-to-one, what are the extra benefits they could have by Gen AI enabling it or by Teams enabling it? Because if you have Teams in there and you can do other things on top of it, like bring in your colleagues, mention them, ask them to help you, decide what to do next, decide what to do based on the output of that bot, that's really, really powerful. Similarly, if we think about extending Copilot, let's not just use it as another search engine. Bringing in information about my inventory, well, that's fine if I want to bring in that information. But what if I want to do something with it? What if I want to say, take that information and create me a paragraph so that I can send that across to my vendor? It's really asking Copilot to do the extra level for me. And when I'm thinking about these scenarios, what I'm often looking for is there an opportunity to do something out the box, to do something with Copilot, and to do something with a custom Copilot inside Teams as well? And what we normally find is that that scenario weaves itself really well through all of those different products. So once we've identified some solutions, we think about the why, the who, and the what. So we take a really user-centered design approach, and we think, what is the problem statement? What are we trying to do here? And what value is that going to provide? Who is the solution for? Who is my persona? Who is using this? What do they care about? And what is it that they need to be able to do? And then what the solution does, building out user stories. So thinking about what I'm trying to do, how I'm trying to do it, why I'm trying to do it, so that we can create a backlog, and then we can work through the different ways of creating out the solution. So here's just one example here. So we've got an example of the why, the who, and the what. So we would always ask customers to have a think through this. So that's kind of the end of the content, and we finished a little bit earlier than planned. So what we're going to do is we'll open up for Q&A. I can see that we've got potentially a few questions coming through, so I'll invite my colleagues back onto the call. But what we'd really encourage you to do is reach out to the other colleagues who are on the call today, who are associated with you as a customer. If you have ideas, work with those customer PMs, my colleagues, around thinking through what some of those problems might be. Work through a session of working out who your personas are, what is you're trying to build, whether it's a Copilot solution or a custom Copilot solution, and then work with us to build something out. We can help you sitting down, looking at envisioning sessions. We can work with you on how to work through what that solution might look like and how you might want to build it. We can then support you in building, and then we can follow up. We're really keen to learn what all of our customers are doing, so we'd love to work with you moving forwards on this. Okay,